Hi everyone, welcome to this cross-company integration webinar. My name is Manoush and I am your host and presenter today. If you are an IT or ITIL consultant, a SIAM expert, or an ITIL consultant, then this webinar is specifically for you. It is based on an ebook called The Definitive Guide to Cross-Company Integrations for Consultants in IT, which I will share with you in a few minutes. Before we start, I would like to thank Alexander Schmidt from Value Insights, Claire Gatter from ITSM Zone, Agalos Paraskopoulos from Sentencia, Nirupama Daigodev from IKS Health, who helped us validate this guide. Please feel free to ask any questions you might have during this webinar in the chat tool on the right side of the screen. We'll try our best to answer them straight away, but if we are not able to answer your questions, we'll make sure to get back to you shortly. So let's get started. If you're an IT consultant and you aim to co-create business value with customers who are facing some challenges caused by a multi-sourced environment, this webinar is for you. I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step approach to delivering customer value through a successful cross-company integration journey employing SIAM methodology and ITIL 4 best practices. Before we start, I'll just share the complete ebook in the chat, so feel free to go ahead and download the guide for further read. Let's get started. Today's fast-growing organizations use a variety of work management systems or issue tracking systems to manage their day-to-day operations more effectively. With these systems in place, operational efficiency is going to increase and higher levels of collaboration within the company is realized. But what happens when these work management systems are sourced out from different vendors? Or how can multi-sourced organizations, such as your customers, exchange information through these disparate systems? They're going to have some problems like inadvertent alteration of data, lost or irrelevant information. Because, for example, a customer service representative from one company needs to copy and paste a request or a concern from an email that has come from another company. And this can all result in delayed responses and impact the customer and the business in general. So again, what is the solution to these symptoms? Let me share with you a practical use case where we're gonna investigate how this all can be dealt with. So here's the use case. Infinity Solutions is a company in sales and distribution business for clothing line. It decides to digitize its business through multi-sourcing, its customer service and graphic development. This means for Infinity to complete the end-to-end delivery of service, it has to pass through different delivery channels. Infinity wants to focus and manage the product development side using a work management system called ServiceNow. Mercury Inc., on the other hand, is being outsourced for customer service and support and using Zendesk as its work management system. Global Private Limited is another third-party vendor that focuses on all web design-related developments and is using Jira Cloud. Now, Infinity is obviously working in a multi-sourced environment where it needs to collaborate with two other companies. And this is where a new challenge arises. When such disparate companies try to exchange information through these different applications, the lack of a standardized interface between them creates problems. These companies have to collaborate through phone calls and emails, which is definitely error-prone and makes the tickets harder to track. Now, cross-company integration solution combined with your consultancy expertise comes up as an essential solution in such a disjunct situation. This is an important time to take your consulting services to the next level by bringing together value for the end user. And that can be done through integrating these systems for frictionless and seamless collaboration across teams and, of course, across companies. However, embarking on a cross-company integration project is not a walk in the park. There are quite a few potential risks and problems that we need to take into account, such as data mapping, which should be consistent and comprehensive in order not to lead to bottlenecks. For instance, if the same task is called an issue in one system and an incident or a ticket in another, then it should be acknowledged that both mean the same. Or if there is a problem with an API of one system, then the integration cannot proceed until it's resolved. End-to-end scenario testing must be defined and executed. This will simplify the maintenance in the future whenever a change needs to be validated. And last but not least is the fact that people often resist change. This can be a potential risk, especially if different teams in a project need to collaborate and they are not ready to change their mindset. These teams can lack the skills or know-hows to use and benefit from the new technologies. In traditional companies, people do not understand the big picture and how the new technology would improve business and processes. Integrating one system to another could also lead to risks of unauthorized disclosure or malicious tampering of data exchange. And questions on integrity and confidentiality is the utmost concern and needs to be addressed. Because of these challenges and problems in the cross-company integration journey, we need to take steps to mitigate them. Therefore, we adopt best practices of SIAM and ITIL 4. A multi-sourced environment has a lot of challenges when it comes to managing collaborations between service providers. And this is where the SIAM methodology comes into play. SIAM is an approach to managing multiple service suppliers by integrating them so they can collaborate to give customer great value. SIAM introduces the concept of a service integrator that works with providers alongside customers to achieve the common goal of service improvement. I'll get to it in a few slides. The SIAM ecosystem has got different layers: the customers, the service integrator, and the service providers. SIAM introduces the concept of a single customer-facing logical entity known as the service integrator that is held accountable for the end-to-end delivery of service and business value. It makes sure that the customer and the providers always stay on the same page. ITIL 4, on the other hand, is a framework that enables service value systems, practices, and techniques to effectively work in a multiple service provider environment. SIAM is not here to replace ITIL. It builds on and extends it across the multi-sourced ecosystem, and it adapts to ITIL 4 concepts like this service value system. Why we use ITIL 4 in cross-company integration? Because it introduces this new concept of service value system, where it focuses on co-creating value for customers in a business ecosystem and proposes that IT service management and business requirements are always aligned. So these practices were deliberately put together to enable us to come up with a well thought out cross-company integration guide for you. Industry practitioners and consultancy experts have long been in the SIAM space. They dominate the landscape in propagating cross-company integration in a multi-sourced environment. As IT consultants, you too can explore an external integrator role and take it as an opportunity to generate cross-company integration capability in the context of SIAM. All right, now that we have the external integrator mindset, it's about time that I walk you through the approach to co-create business value with customers through the cross-company integration journey. After acknowledging Infinity's problem, we reached out to them with a cross-company integration solution, which they could implement with these 8 effective steps. Step 1 is to capture the business pain points. As an IT consultant, you are fully aware of the challenges and problems that your customers might face in a multi-sourced environment. But how about your customers? Are they fully aware of these problems and challenges? Definitely not. So what we can do here is to sit down with our customers and to go over a few topics, revisit those topics and capture those business pain points together to understand what our customers are going through. These pain points can be productivity pain points like limited visibility on data, disconnected information across different tools, or the problems they have with copying and pasting of data. Or it can be customer pain points. Like your customers might complain about incident reports that are not showing up, or about slow report time or turnaround time. Or it can be process pain points, Like your customers might complain about the service department that is inundated, so their churn is high because of that. Now, how can we help our customers identify their problems? How can we gather and collect these problems from our customers? Working on getting feedback helps tackle tougher questions that can be asked, right? Continual improvement can be proposed, and even service or system integration proposals can be explored at this stage. The primary purpose of this step is to create a to-be vision. This will help with uncovering the business pain points that we gather here and prioritize improvement suggestions. So let's go back to the case. This is an overview of disparate teams. And this is the to-be vision where companies are seamlessly integrated. Infinity Solutions envisioned an environment where the systems are integrated in such a way that whenever a customer complains, it can be resolved by escalating a ticket directly from Mercury towards Global while keeping track of the complaint in their own ServiceNow. The increased efficiency has a direct impact on resolution time and customer satisfaction. So if this worked out, the approach can be applied to all the suppliers. And this is where we go to step 2, where we uncover the business requirements. The 3 companies want to have a holistic view of information like tickets, issues, change requests, and such like, across their suppliers. They should be able to track information from end to end, right? They want to ensure autonomy while collaborating with all the suppliers or stakeholders. It means that whenever these companies decide to integrate their systems to exchange some information, it must be done in such a way that neither of the companies loses control over what information is sent out and how incoming information is processed. Keeping the systems loosely coupled is essential to ensure scalability and maintainability. They also want to ensure consistent information across all the different work management systems so that each company remains on the same page. It needs to be synchronized in real time, and automation in terms of triggers must be in place for it to be transferred. To enable all 3 companies here to securely exchange information through encryption methods, access control mechanisms need to be present to ensure that no user from Infinity can have access to critical or insider data from Global or Mercury. Now is the ideal moment to define how the different businesses will cooperate. By having the right governance organization in place to monitor the efficacy of the provided solution, along with the defined KPIs, and decide on the prioritization of improvement. So once you agreed on the scope of the continual improvement, it's time to involve the right people. The aim is to have a cross-functional integration team aiming at delivering value in a multi-sourced environment. Most integration projects fail before they even start because they do not involve the right people in their team. For instance, they do not consider a data mapping expert, which leads to inaccurate or wrong mapping affecting the data synchronization. Specific roles and responsibilities across the entire framework are identified and assigned at this step. These are the subject matter experts that you need to have on this project. We have a comprehensive list in the ebook as well, the ebook that I shared in the chat. So you can just go to the ebook and check out the comprehensive list there. So for the above role, consider the following possible scenario. Consultancy leaders working as a service integrator. They can be working with Infinity as employees or can be external consultants for them. All 3 companies should have the same list of SMEs, subject matter experts, based on the availability of these subject matter expertise or service delivery capabilities. The basic aim of having people involved from all 3 companies together is to reduce friction between them and improve decision-making capabilities. So with the case, the solutions architects from Infinity is the accountable person if anything goes wrong in the design of the architecture. So the people involved from Mercury and Global should acknowledge and be informed of this at the onset to avoid situations like who to report to, who to go to, and questions like that. This will help to set and identify clear escalation paths. Monthly steering meetings can take place between these companies to keep track of the integration effort and help identify continual improvement imperatives. Weekly and daily stand-up meetings can also be arranged to effectively handle and manage day-to-day operations. So the right blend of a team involving all stakeholders is necessary to move forward. Once that the right kind of team is set up, it can be responsible for coming up with the detailed design of the integration. So let's go back to the case. For effective workflow automation for Infinity, let's look at this case. Suppose that Mercury's Zendesk has received a ticket from the end user. Upon proper analysis, it has been termed as an incident pertaining to an issue in development that now needs to move to the proper team. It needs to be identified here whether the issue is design specific, in which case it needs to be sent over to Global, or it's development related, which means it's non-UI UX, and it needs to go to Infinity. UI fields must be mapped from one system to the other. In this scenario, any issue or incident filed in Zendesk would translate as a project in ServiceNow or a task in Jira. So since the issue was identified as UI related, it was forwarded straight to the Jira tool that will be resolved by Global, and Infinity would only be notified about it. Here, the synchronization process starts through automatic triggers, service requests, or tickets. A consistent and correct entry about the correct status of the ticket is made in both Infinity's ServiceNow and Global's Jira. The issue is worked on and tracked through its entire workflow, meaning that Infinity, Mercury, and Global are able to monitor and track it throughout. Once the testing has been successfully established, it needs to migrate towards production if required. After this has been done, feedback to the end user is provided, and post a go-ahead, it stands resolved. Note that for such a seamless workflow, the governance organization involving people from all the communicating parties that we talked about in step 2 should be able to monitor the incident across its entire life cycle. Now, in this step, technical requirements and constraints need to have full attention. To help you with your conversation, there is a sample set of questions you can ask. They are divided into the following categories, and you can find the full list of questions on a separate worksheet in the ebook that I already shared with you in the chat. So the first category is in regard to infrastructure. You can ask questions like, what network layout is applicable between the different systems? The second category is related to information flow. And there are questions like, what information is exchanged at what events? What is the data that will be exchanged? Then it goes to security. What is the retry mechanisms for resolving errors? And the last category is in regard to deployment related questions. Questions like, what configuration management system will be used to ensure system traceability? So the whole conversation needs to lead to a firm specification of the to-be system in the following categories. These are also listed all in the ebook separately, so you can just refer to the ebook if you like to see the complete explanation on each category. User stories form an important part of the design process to accumulate ever-changing requirements. For example, as a customer representative of a company, I want to have visibility on the status of the issue ticket. After an initial level of specific user stories, move ahead to conceptually design them in the form of use cases. For instance, you can diagrammatically show bidirectional synchronization between two systems as a use case. Entity mapping, issue type mapping, automated or manual synchronization, bidirectional or unidirectional synchronization. These are all the data management topics that you can talk about, and they can be considered here. Data security, that is all about how integrity, confidentiality, and accessibility of the data can be ensured. Sometimes older versions of two applications have been integrated, but newer versions haven't. So these different permutations of versions must be known and handled beforehand to ensure the solution is up to date with its correct versions. Integration solution providers come up with generic out-of-the-box templates which allow the customers and service providers to set up easy-to-use interactive connections between them. And workflow design, automation, orchestration, this is to ensure that your data moves and lands in the right direction and in the right system. Now, with the cross-company integration QC, this is quite different from the traditional QC processes. System and integration testing play an important role in an integration scenario here, and so exhaustive test cases must be designed around them. Deployment between environments of testing to staging and pre-acceptance for rollback needs to be designed within this category. And the last one is all about knowledge base and training. Now that you have the right people for your project, thoroughly designed and engineered requirements, specifications, and other technical considerations, you are ready to help your customer pick the best solution. Every organization has got its own concerns about the business benefits, right? And every organization considers its own drivers to achieve those business benefits. But with a cross-company integration solution, you can expect critical benefits. Let's see what those benefits are. With the right integration solution, you can keep control over what information needs to be retained by the customers and what needs to be passed between systems. This creates an IT security benefit for both customers and the organization. So more security, lower risk of data breach. It can also allow the systems to be loosely coupled and independent of each other, so you can spend your time on your priorities. It can result in more effective decision making. You can also have an easier troubleshooting and save a lot of time. You can also experience a collaborative culture shift in an integration ecosystem because everything is integrated now. And an integrated retry mechanism can guarantee reliability. So if there is a failure, you are sure that the synchronization is resumed after the failure. It supports workflow automation, reduces the need to re-enter and translate data. There is less chance of information errors leading to friction between teams. So what if we had a cross-company integration solution that supports all of this? Exalate is the leading cross-company integration solution that enables you to sync data across multiple platforms. You can bidirectionally connect your work across multiple work management systems in real time, have frictionless collaboration across internal teams and outside company borders. You can have complete autonomous control over both outgoing and incoming information, meaning that you can decide what information is sent over and what information is received. And there is maximum security due to complete control over the data being shared with the other systems. It also enables you to have limitless customizability to fit your unique and complex integration needs. It's customizable, so it matches your scenario. So you can set up a synchronization between multiple Jira, Azure DevOps, ServiceNow, Zendesk, GitHub, HPLM, and more instances. So let's see what the customers are saying about this solution. All right, these are what the customers are saying. So how do you prototype and implement a cross-company integration solution? This comes the critical part. Well, seeing is believing holds true in this step. This is where you allow the customers to simulate the cross-company integration solution through a proof of concept. Maybe even get them a trial, configure it, and see how it works in action. To perform this activity, you can consider the most important use cases that have been identified from the pain points earlier and is relevant to your integration scenario. If you would like to try out Exalate, I'm going to share a link with you in the chat and you can try it for free. Back to the case. For Infinity, it can be to help them synchronize bi-directionally between ServiceNow and Zendesk for issues of high priority. Now, this step can significantly reduce the risk associated with the Big Bang approach. The idea is to ensure the delivery of existing services with minimal disruption. Another part of this step is verification and validation, both of which will help ensure the program's successful completion. The team could then configure a version of the intended product and see how efficiently information gets exchanged and synchronized automatically between these work management systems. And importantly, this exercise helps with establishing trust and customer confidence, so they can see how technically feasible the solution is. And once confirmed, you can move towards building the solution iteratively, managed by the implementation team. It's now time to deploy the product. We need a clear and comprehensive release and deployment plan for smooth deployments of a project to production. Efficient rollback mechanisms are to be considered as well. All right. Back to the case. There is a synchronization request for changing processing triggers from Mercury's Zendesk to Infinity's ServiceNow, but the connectivity is lost during this transaction. Here, once the connectivity is up, all changes must be queued and applied in the same order as the original event. Such a retry mechanism will ensure that Mercury and Infinity didn't even notice the outage and were rest assured that things were handled effectively by the integration solution. And voila, here comes the last step. The final phase involves maintenance and periodical updates. This step is when end users fine-tune the system if they wish to boost performance, add new capabilities, or even meet additional user requirements. If this is done, then the resolution is quicker, positively impacting the SLA and leaving you with happier customers. Hence, the essence of this practice is to be able to identify at the earliest whether a particular incident is a bug, a service request, or a change, and to assign the correct priority to it. Then hand it over to the responsible person or department after routing it through the service integrator. And all this is taken care of in a shorter time. In step 4, the design and engineering, we define the SLA. So if we have that in place in the same step, then here is where we respond to the concerns. A quick example from the case before we close this. The SLA between Infinity and Mercury may state that the priority 2 incidents must be resolved within 12 hours. And the ultimate goal here, to bring down the SLA closure time. And that's it. So these were the 8 steps to a successful cross-company integration project. Evidently, this guide offers you an approach to a powerful cross-company integration tool that co-creates value in a multi-supplier ecosystem. It incorporates the best practices of ITIL 4 and SIAM together, and it also serves to illustrate clearly defined steps validated by industry experts and practiced by consultancy leaders. Is different and every situation is novel. It's not like we're saying that there is one single do-it-yourself approach here, but we know that you as the experts know, I mean, this guide is here to help you formulate a unique strategy based on what is beneficial to your customers. So if you think that Exalate is the right solution for your customers who are working in a multi-sourced environment, click on the link that I shared with you in the chat and start a free trial. You can also reach out to our experts for a product demo or for some advice on how Exalate is tailored to your specific needs. Thank you very much for your time. I hope to see you in the next webinars. Have a nice day.